As the sun started to peek out on the South Texas brush country, a bow hunter heard a very strange scream in the woods. He had never heard anything quite like this, and it kept getting closer and closer and closer. He thought maybe he had come into contact with the legendary Bigfoot. And then it got silent. A few minutes later, a small, hairy hand reaches into his blind just as the sunlight is coming up over the trees, and he finds himself face to face with a monkey. Yes, a monkey. This was a Japanese macaque, a snow monkey, as they are often called, and it was staring right at him. The monkey looked at him for a second and then ran away into the brush, and the guy's hunt was ruined. There are Japanese macaques in South Texas. In the Dilley, Texas area, there is a free-ranging, verified population of Japanese macaques that escaped from a facility that was founded to house them in the 1970s. Here's a photo that one of the readers of my highercalling.net blog sent in at his deer feeder. Deer hunters in the Dilley, Texas area frequently come across these unusual monkeys that are thriving in South Texas and seem to be expanding their range. Here's another shot that was taken by someone working in the oil industry. This monkey is sitting on top of the fence post, and this person told me that they frequently see monkeys on this particular ranch where they are doing oil fracking work down in the South Texas area. This is a very interesting thing because it's an established, free-ranging primate population in America. An argument against the Bigfoot phenomenon has been that there's no way that primates like this could survive here. But these are snow monkeys, after all. This is a shot of one in the hot pools near Mount Fuji. Yet they are thriving in an area south of San Antonio, Texas, that has more than 30 days a year over 100 degrees. So primates can survive. And the question that this really makes me want to ask is there any link to feral primates to some of the Bigfoot creature phenomenon and the skunk ape phenomenon in the South? Now, rhesus monkeys have established populations in parts of Florida. These are fairly large monkeys, very active animals, and there are 3 different locations where these animals have established small populations. In fact, some of the areas actually promote that they have monkeys in the area and want people to come see them. And this is a really interesting thing because Florida has so many non-indigenous animals. We know about the Burmese pythons. There are also now chameleons, lots of fish, and there are rhesus monkeys. There are also rhesus monkeys in South Carolina. There's actually an island called Morgan Island where they have maybe thousands of these, according to reports, that are kept there, caught numerous of them annually, and they use them in medical testing. In fact, recently, another facility in South Carolina had an escape. But are there also feral apes? Stories of chimpanzee and gorilla-like creatures have come from Florida for more than 50 years. In fact, some of the, quote, skunk ape reports are more ape-like than Bigfoot-like, although there are plenty of Bigfoot creature reports there as well. Very interestingly, there was a place called the Chimp Farm that existed sort of back in the day before a lot of the laws and things involving exotic wildlife were in existence. And the rhesus monkeys in one of the Florida populations actually came from an escape from this facility. And they not only had rhesus monkeys, but they had chimpanzees as well. I mean, the place is called the Chimp Farm. Who's to say some of these chimpanzees did not escape? And something I found even more interesting is they actually had lowland gorillas. And very few places outside of large zoos, even when animal laws were a lot more lax, had gorillas. They actually had lowland gorillas in this population. And I find that fascinating because we have known populations of monkeys in Florida and in Texas. Is it possible these highly intelligent apes, some of them, could have ventured into the Everglades And they could be responsible for some of these strange reports that are a lot more ape-like than some of the Bigfoot reports. Are some of the skunk ape reports out there actually remnants of these escaped populations of chimpanzees or gorillas that are living in the area? The Mayaka ape is one of the more interesting cases in cryptozoology in the last 25 years, made famous by Lauren Coleman's reports. A woman sent photos and a letter to the police in the Sarasota area saying there was an orangutan that was coming up to her home, and she sent these photos. Very interesting photos, an animal that looks very orangutan-like. In my opinion, this is absolutely a real animal that we're looking at in the photos, but what is it? Is it what a skunk ape is, an as-yet discovered species, or is it a feral orangutan? We will probably never know in this particular case, but it is definitely interesting and shows that this skunk ape phenomenon may have different aspects than just a Bigfoot creature. I mean, we know we have established populations in Florida. We have established populations in Texas. I mean, I think that there are many things that an orangutan could explain in the wild. I mean, there are reports of orangutan red-colored Bigfoots, but there are also reports of orangutan-like creatures in the American South that people have seen that are more slumped over. And, these animals are very, very elusive in the wild. There have recently been a large population discovered that have never been seen by Western explorers. So very interesting stuff from their native range. Some of the more interesting reports I've gathered were of baboon-like creatures. And even people have said that they actually saw baboons. I mean, this has happened in multiple occasions. I spoke to a hunter who hunted in north central Louisiana, and he reported seeing what he thought was a large monkey walking through the brush because he could see a little bit of the head and then the tail dragging when it walked out. He said it looked exactly like a very large baboon. And this was a very reliable person. He wasn't one that was up to just telling a bunch of crazy stories. And he was just dead set on that he actually saw a baboon. And then another hunter, this is on the Texas side over here, probably an hour and a half south on the Texas side of the Sabine River, said he saw a troop of baboons walk past him while hunting. He was squirrel hunting. Both interesting were squirrel hunting. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but these people didn't know each other, yet they both reported actually seeing baboons, which is highly strange because while baboons do live in captive populations in America, they're not like a common one to keep. Lance Rozier, who was considered the godfather of the Big Thicket National Preserve, said that he observed the carcass of a baboon roadkilled within the Big Thicket National Preserve. Of course, it was linked to a traveling circus, but Rozier is a very reliable guy who said that he saw a baboon carcass. And there are reports of what people call devil monkeys, baboon-like cryptid creatures. Could that be one of them? And maybe most interestingly is the DeRidder Roadkill. This was killed in DeRidder, Louisiana on the road in 1996. And it was published in a local newspaper. It made the rounds of cryptozoology. Chris Stevens and others reported on it. And it's a very, very unusual roadkill. Louisiana wildlife officials said it was a, quote, Pomeranian. But in some of the pictures you're going to see here in a second, you're going to realize that right there is not a Pomeranian. What was actually roadkilled? Why can't I find roadkills like this? I'd have thrown that sucker in the back of my truck and sent it off to get tested. But this was actually in Louisiana, and this was internet, but it was definitely pre-social media. So, it wasn't like people were trying to, become influencers of the crypto world by taking this picture and putting it in a local newspaper. Here's an interesting shot. I wish we had all of these originals, but someone did a collage. You get an idea of scale. This thing's definitely not a Pomeranian, but it has a baboon sort of like appearance. And this thing could tie into a lot of other things that people have reported seeing over the years. And it ties into that exact area. It's literally dead between where the one man had the baboon encounter in Louisiana and the other on the Texas side had the troop of baboons that he saw. The question I have is, Are feral apes living in America? We know for a fact there are feral monkeys. Are there apes out there as well? Are there troops of baboons? Are some of the vocalizations people hear escaped exotic and breeding populations of primates? What is going on out there? I think if we're going to be intelligent about our research, if we're going to be honest about our research into the Bigfoot phenomenon, we have to ask these questions. So what are your thoughts? Please subscribe to Global Bigfoot. Let me know what you think about feral apes definitely not being the answer for Bigfoot. Without a question, they are not the answer for the Bigfoot phenomenon. But are they part of this? Some of these fringe Bigfoot reports that are more ape-like than sort of more Patterson-Gimlin creature-like. And some of these reports of things like devil monkeys and even the skunk ape. What are your thoughts?